What is up, guys? Kyle, Flexstorm McGee here. Once again, the Pack champion, the two-time Pack champion. Here to do my review of NXT WarGames 2021. Pretty good event overall, honestly. So we had two WarGames matches at this show. You had the Women's WarGames match, which was Team Raquel, which was Cora Jade, Kaylee Ray, Io Shirai, and Raquel Gonzalez versus Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, Jacy Jayne, and Mandy Rose, and Dakota Kai. They actually opened the show. The main event was Team Black and Gold, which was NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight versus Team 2.0, which was Braun Breaker, Tony D'Angelo, Grayson Waller, and Carmelo Hayes. On top of that, we had a hair versus hair match between Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson. We had the Cruiserweight title match between the Cruiserweight champion Roderick Strong of Diamond Mine versus Joe Gacy, and the tag team titles on the line as Imperium defended against Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. And the night kicked off with the Women's War Game match between the aforementioned Team Raquel versus Team Toxic Attraction. So we have the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan of Toxic Attraction, and the NXT Women's Champion, Mandy Rose, the leader of Toxic Attraction, alongside Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai kicks off this match. She comes to the ring with kendo sticks. Kaylee Ray kicks it off for Team Raquel. She's got a baseball bat. And this is something we see throughout the match. Good wrestling involved throughout. A few sloppy-looking moments. Crowd is super hot for Gigi Dolan, and they pop really loud when she comes in. She's probably the most popular person in this match. But one thing we see throughout is the women stop and grab weapons on their way to the ring. We see trash cans, like I said, the kendo sticks, and the baseball bat during the entrance. We see Cora Jade grab her skateboard. We see tables, chairs, etc. We see it all. A lot of big spots in this match, a lot of tandem wrestling. We see a really cool moment where Cora Jade hits a very tight Hurricane Rana in between the two rings. An interesting moment where Team Raquel gets the 3-2 advantage when Io Shirai shows up, has the chair. She kind of goes a little crazy and gets ahead of herself. Jacy Jayne cuts her off, and actually, while having the numbers advantage, Io Shirai, Cora Jade, and Kaylee Ray actually are currently at this time losing to it is Dakota Kai and Gigi Dolan. The numbers advantage doesn't really work out for them, at least for a little while. We see a lot of, like I said, a lot of big moments with the weapons. A lot of crazy spots. Io Shirai goes to recreate her dive with the trash can from the year prior. Cora Jade with the big spot of the match with a senton off the top of the WarGames cage through the table. I believe it was onto Jacy Jayne, if my memory serves me correctly. But looks like she landed kind of awkwardly, to be 100% honest, and I think she may have kayfabe hurt her shoulder or really hurt her shoulder. I'm not sure, because we don't really see her much the rest of the match. We get the really wicked spot where, Io Shirai pops her shoulder back into the socket. So this match was kind of a coming out party for Cora Jade. She had the really, like I said, the biggest spot of the match with that. Then we have where, Toxic Attraction's on one side of the ring, and then their Team Raquel's on the other side of the ring. And it looks like Kaylee Ray's gonna kind of hit Cora Jade with the kendo stick for a moment. Cora Jade gets kind of scared, and then she turns around and whacks Dakota Kai with it, and then tosses it back to Cora Jade. Toxic Attraction kind of takes them all out. Now it's Cora Jade in the ring by herself with all of Toxic Attraction and Dakota Kai, and she ends up fighting them off for a little bit before the numbers advantage gets to them. Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan hold her down, and, Mandy hits that big knee to the head, and surprisingly to everybody, Cora Jade kicks out, even to herself. It's a surprise. We get a few big run-ins from the other team. Raquel hits one of her moves. And then everybody's laid out. And then Cora Jade looks and notices JC Jane's out. Rolls her up 1, 2, 3, and Cora Jade gets the win for her team. It was actually a pretty fun match to kick things off. I'm going to give it an A-. It was a very fun match. I was actually surprised that Toxic Attraction didn't get the win with how hard they've been pushing them recently, but it feels like they're really trying to give that breakout moment to Cora Jade, so kind of cool to see. After that, we'd see a little backstage segment with Team Black and Gold where they're getting hyped up and talking about how Team 2.0 is not ready for this. You know, Gargano says tonight's his first WarGames match and might be his last. They're really hyping up his contract coming to an end. Ciampa says, as much as tonight's about Black and Gold, tonight's really about you. A+ for that segment. Really sold the emotion of everything that was happening. We go back, and it's Imperium defending the tag team titles against Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly. This was a fantastic match. It was sub 15 minutes, but so much happened here. Fabian Eichner is a potential top star. Marcel Bartel, the same as well. Great technical action throughout this match. And this match, honestly, also really sold me on Von Wagner. If you have not watched this match yet, go back and watch it. It was just a little bit shy of 15 minutes, like I said, but honestly, this might be a contender for match of the year for me personally. I know a lot of people probably won't feel that way and think I might be over-exaggerating, but this matchup was incredible. Fantastic wrestling throughout. This is an example of what great tag team action is, and they didn't need to go 30 minutes with a bunch of false finishes to get to that point. I thought it was a great match, great storytelling. Really sold me on Von Wagner. He did a great job in this match. Kyle O'Reilly, you know, with his strikes and his technical wrestling is always fantastic to watch. You know, the part where Fabian Eichner catches Von Wagner as he's diving and squats down, you know, and lifts him up like he does. Pretty cool spot showing off the strength of Fabian Eichner. Marcel Bartel had some good moments. You know, the moonsault to the outside by Von Wagner. They end up, Imperium gets the win by pinning Kyle O'Reilly. After the match, Von Wagner comes into the ring and tries to sneak attack Kyle O'Reilly with a clothesline as he's mad. But Kyle O'Reilly sees it coming, ducks underneath, and just beats the hell out of him, throws up the Undisputed Era sign, and says that, you know, this is what it's all about. A+ for this match. Absolutely fantastic. Like I said, a match of the year contender for me. I absolutely loved it. If you have not watched it, go and watch it. You've got time, I promise. 14 minutes, 53 seconds, I think is what it went. Later in the night, Kyle O'Reilly would do a backstage interview where, you know, he's had so many tag team partners betray him in the past. Of course, he saw this coming, and he says that, you know, we got to steal the WarGames tonight, but why don't you, let's keep the cage up, and Von Wagner, I'll see you Tuesday in a steel cage match. So we've got that to look forward to tonight, it looks like. So that should be pretty good. Possibly Kyle O'Reilly's going away match. But great tag team match. Up next, Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson in a hair versus hair match that was set up when they had their big poker thing. He accused Cameron Grimes of cheating, so he shaved his beard after he attacked him, said he was going to cut the rest of his hair. Decent match. Nothing super special. Cameron Grimes is a fantastic worker. He does have kind of a comedy gimmick in a way, but, you know, he's absolutely fantastic. I love watching him work. Great selling. Duke Hudson, you know, doing a good job playing the heel here, throwing him around. Cameron Grimes, of course, ends up getting the win. No surprise to anybody. Duke Hudson is upset, attacks him after the match, and goes to cut his hair. Boom. Cameron Grimes jumps up from the chair, hits him with a boot to the face, and ends up cutting parts of his hair before Duke Hudson wakes up and runs out with only about this much of his head shaved. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with his hair going forward. I'll give it a B. It was a decent match, but it was definitely nothing super serious. We had a few vignettes throughout the night, you know, a few hype packages. Tiffany Stratton getting a hype package for her. We saw Jensen and Briggs getting their hype package where it shows them grilling steaks and talking about, you know, their backstories, and it shows how they're so similar but different in sort of ways and why they're so fitting as a tag team. my Ying, all this and that. We get an announcement for NXT New Year's Evil on January 4th, and holy crap, that is such a better name than Day One. Why is that not the name for the Day One pay-per-view? New Year's Evil. Super simple, and it's a great name, honestly. It's so simple, but it works. Like I said, a lot of hype packages. We see the same Ikemen Jiro hype package that we saw on the first episode of NXT whatever. We get an announcement that Zion Quinn and Santos Escobar are going to be facing each other next week. And we see them interview, and she kind of Mackenzie Mitchell brings up Elektra Lopez meeting up with Zion Quinn backstage. She said she's a grown woman and her business has nothing to do with Mackenzie Mitchell. So interesting to see where they're going with that. Is Elektra kind of going to be going away from Legado del Fantasma? Time will tell. Up next, the Cruiserweight Championship match, as Joe Gacy is trying to bring the inclusivity into the Cruiserweight Championship and talks about how it's toxic and weight shaming. So he's talked his way into a Cruiserweight title match when he does not meet the 205-pound limit. Champion Roderick Strong comes out accompanied by Diamond Mine. Joe Gacy comes out accompanied by Harland. It's an okay match. It's pretty thoroughly controlled by Roderick Strong throughout the match. Good wrestling all throughout. It's hard to find a bad Roderick Strong wrestling match, honestly. And Joe Gacy is a pretty good worker despite his gimmick. He gets his shirt completely ripped off him by Roderick Strong. He takes over a bit. Joe Gacy does a good job keeping up with him as far as the speed department goes, which was impressive to say the least. Joe Gacy's not a overweight guy by any means, but he's definitely larger than Roderick, so it's always impressive to see those guys keep up. Tosses Roderick to the outside, hits a huge senton dive to the outside, and ends up actually Harland and picks up Ivy Nile because Ivy Nile's walking over to him, and then he kind of talks him down, tells him to stop, gets back in the ring, a little bit of a back and forth, and then Roderick hits his finisher, 1, 2, 3, sub 9-minute match. Okay, nothing special, but a pretty good match. I'll give it a C+. I like Roderick Strong as the Cruiserweight Champion, but I do think from a storytelling perspective, Joe Gacy winning here might have actually been a better move. I know that might be a controversial opinion, but, it would add to the character. You could do the inclusive weight or the open weight championship for a little while till he inevitably drops it back to a Cruiserweight. But I can respect keeping it on Roderick Strong. But again, this match was nothing special. It didn't really add anything to either guy. Just gave them an excuse to get on the card and add a layer to Joe Gacy's character by challenging for the Cruiserweight title, and he's not a Cruiserweight. Our main event comes up next, and it's WarGames. Team 2.0 versus Team Black and Gold. Johnny Gargano comes out last for Team Black and Gold to start off the match, and he comes out to Rebel Heart, and the emotions were real, folks. Johnny Gargano's gear was made up of all of his different takeover gears over the past few years, which was just beautiful to see. Honestly, it felt like he's either leaving WWE or he's just leaving NXT and moving on to the main roster. Time will only tell. Really good action between he and Carmelo Hayes to start off. Grayson Waller comes into the ring. Gargano's controlling it for a bit, but the numbers advantage gets too much when Waller hits a heel kick. Ends up busting open the nose of Johnny Gargano. But, they get going for a little bit, and then I believe up next is Pete Dunne. I believe Pete Dunne was up next. I can't remember the exact order off the top of my head. But again, more weapons in this match. Trick Williams is a big part of it. We get the guys coming in. Tony D'Angelo chain locks the fence door behind him as he comes in. So LA Knight, when he comes out, can't get in, so he's forced to climb over the top. Trick Williams is throwing weapons over the top until he inevitably gets caught and kind of gets pulled into the ring. And we see Dexter Lumis. He's back. And he kind of runs off Trick Williams and just to Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano gives the thumbs up back. There's a fun spot. Grayson Waller gets put through the table after he looks for a social media moment. Braun Breaker comes down, and unfortunately the chain did not break right away, so it was just a very awkward moment of him struggling to break the chain. He finally gets in the ring. Lots of back and forth moments. Ciampa comes out. They hit the DIY special move on Braun Breaker. DIY reunited for this match, but Carmelo Hayes pulls the ref away when the pin count's going. They give Grayson Waller his social media moment as he does the diving elbow drop off the top of the cage through the table. A lot of wild spots in all these WarGames matches. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I wish I would have watched it today instead of yesterday, so I could kind of give you all the spots off the top of my head a little bit better, and maybe even in a better order. But, you know, we've got a spot where it looks like Ciampa is going to be getting the match wrapped up, but then Braun Breaker spears him through the table. Gargano comes in, you know, all this and that, but Breaker ends up hitting his, you know, power slam finish on a Ciampa. 1, 2, 3. Team 2.0 wins, and the crowd boos. Team 2.0 is victorious. The right result, in my honest opinion, and I'm not just saying that because this is the result that directly led to me winning back my Pack championship. I'm saying it because as much as I'd probably prefer the black and gold guys, you've got to establish the new era of 2.0, and you've got to build new stars. It is possible that Johnny Gargano is leaving. I'm not 100% sure. We will find that out tonight. I'll give this match an A. There's a few weird moments, especially like the chain not breaking, but overall it was really fun. If you haven't watched WarGames yet, I'd highly recommend you go back and watch it. It was a great event. After the show, Johnny Gargano addressed the crowd. They were chanting that they thanked him, they loved him. He said he loved them, and he should be thanking them, that no matter what happens, he'll always be Johnny Wrestling, and that he knows there's a lot of rumors out there about him, and he said, I need to tell you all the truth, but I'm tired, I'm sore. I'll come here on Tuesday and I'll tell you all the truth. So come back here Tuesday and I'll tell you. So tonight, we're going to find out what happens with Johnny Gargano. I wonder if he's leaving, because it's weird to imagine WWE really giving him this big send-off as he's just leaving and going to AEW. Time will only tell. Time will tell what happens with Kyle O'Reilly as well. We'll probably find out a little bit more about Kyle O'Reilly tonight, and we'll for sure find out what's next for Johnny Gargano tonight. So make sure you tune in. Overall, I'm going to give the show an A. You had the A- from the first match. You had the A+ tag team match, a contender of match of the year for me. A B for the hair versus hair match. That was a decent match, but nothing special. You have C+, Joe Gacy and Roderick Strong was just kind of there. And then the A for the WarGames match for the men. So I'll give it an A overall. Make sure you go back and watch it. And I will see you guys soon enough. Thank you for tuning in to this WarGames review.